It's September 21st, 2025. Let's get into this week's weather updates. We have Tropical Storm Gabrielle still out there in the Atlantic, and then right behind it, we have a disturbance that the NHC has given a 40% chance for cyclone formation over the next 7 days. Our European model still likes the thought of a major cool down for the east as we get into early October. And we have some severe weather to talk about, not just today, but over the next few days. We have a pretty strong low pressure moving across the country, and it could cause some issues for some. Here we have Tropical Storm Gabrielle, and it's obviously very healthy. It finally has that center closed off. Not a ton of dry air or shear affecting it right now. As I said though, this is unlikely to affect any land. We can see right here it's expected to become a hurricane over the next 24 hours and then make a sharp right turn out into the open Atlantic basin. What's behind it is a little more concerning. This is our latest GFS run, and we can see just pushing out about 3 to 4 days, we have this disturbance turning into a tropical storm, and it's sitting just right off of the southeastern coast of Florida. The time it takes this storm to strengthen is going to affect how far west it does travel. If it strengthens a little bit quicker, it could be influenced up to the north a little bit faster. But currently, with the latest GFS run, it does have this potential cyclone coming very close to the coast and then potentially even making a landfall up in the northeast, or at least having an impact on the northeast. This is still pretty far out, so there's no reason to be concerned right now, but we definitely want to pay attention to this. Here's our latest run. You can see it moving up the coast. This would be a potentially Cat 1, Cat 2 hurricane as it moves up to the north, just off to the east coast of the mid-Atlantic, and then it gets very close to New England there as well. So we definitely need to keep our eye on this. Taking a look at some of our other models, the European does have this storm moving up to the north a little bit quicker, so this would obviously be a better outcome for us along the east coast. The ICON model does see this potential cyclone making that northern turn a little bit faster as well. So for right now, it's pretty good news. Also, we'll have to watch what's happening out here in the MDR. We might have another area of interest here in the coming week or two. Our Nino 3.4 region obviously has continued this downward trend. It does look like we will be in that weak La Nina as we get into October, although we may see this region stabilizing a little bit, so it'll be interesting to see as we get into the second half of winter. Do we go back into an Enzo neutral and begin that shift towards an El Nino as we get into next winter? And I know I don't want to get ahead of myself there. Clearly though, we're still looking at a very warm NPO, and we obviously have those below average temperatures along the equatorial Pacific and especially in the Nino 3.4 region. As I've said in my previous videos, if we do stay in that weak La Nina, we are expected to have chillier temperatures for much of the lower 48. Weak La Ninas does typically mean a colder winter for everyone kind of except the southeast portions of the southwest, but overall, if you look at our analog, there's about a 70 to 80% chance that we're going to see colder conditions, especially in areas like the Great Lakes region, upper Midwest, and northern plains. And a warm NPO as we have right here has also been known to amplify the effects of your Enzo. So could that mean an even colder winter than we typically see with the weak La Nina, which is already cold? We'll have to see, but right now things are pointing towards a potentially very wintry winter, if you know what I mean. We are seeing the potential for some strong to severe thunderstorms that could fire off in portions of Oklahoma and northern Texas as we get into mid to late afternoon today. We do have a low pressure that's spinning up into the north and west of this, so this is kind of the tail end of it here. And some of these severe storms could stretch up into portions of Illinois, Iowa, Missouri. So really everyone out here in the plains and then over into the western Ohio Valley should have a way to get weather alerts today. We do have a marginal risk for severe weather today up here in southeastern South Dakota, northeastern Nebraska, northwestern Iowa, and southern Minnesota. And then another one stretching from central Texas all the way up through almost into western Pennsylvania. Now our slight risk for severe weather, which is obviously the step above a marginal, is right here just to the north of Dallas-Fort Worth. You can see it down here in south central Oklahoma and then up here through north central Texas. I do think though this afternoon we make it an upgrade to a slight up here in Missouri and potentially west central Illinois. Regardless, if you're in or around these severe weather risk zones today, again, make sure you're weather aware. And our severe weather does not look to let up tomorrow. You can see here portions of the Midwest and Plains and Ohio Valley up into portions of the Northeast. We have another chance for severe weather tomorrow. Also a much larger slight risk tomorrow. And with our day 3, as we get into Tuesday, I would not be surprised to get a slight risk in here as well. That may include Nashville, Tennessee, Little Rock, Arkansas, and the Dallas-Fort Worth region. I did want to take a look at our 850 millibar winds today, and we have a decent amount of shear near the surface here, north central Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, southern to central Missouri. Again, with good shear, you can get some large hail and the potential for some spin-ups as well. I know the SPC right now says we have under a 2% risk for tornadoes in this area. Again, though, as we get into the afternoon, it's possible to see that 2% tornado risk labeled by the SPC, especially with shear numbers like this. And then as we get into tomorrow, we can see that shear again through portions of the southern plains. Here is our low. You can see it spinning right here. And this shear is going to continue to move off into the east, which is why as we get into Tuesday as well, you'll see those low level winds now whipping through portions of eastern Texas up through Tennessee into Kentucky. This is definitely looking a little bit more spring-like. Again, we do have a fall severe weather season, not just a spring severe weather season. And these are the types of looks we expect moving forward as we get that that cooler air moving in from the north with that warm air still stuck down in the south. Now, the good news is for people wanting a little bit of a break from the heat, we do expect this to bring a little bit of below average air down here into the southern plains and potentially southeast Ohio Valley. With that rainfall, with that rain cooled air, you may have a little bit of a break. It's not going to be a week of very cold weather, but a few days. And speaking of temperatures, it's still well above average for much of the country. The west is actually getting a little bit of a break, and I do believe we have the chance for some snow up in the high elevation of the northern Rockies out here over the next couple days. So don't be expecting any snow if you're down at low elevation, but this is cold enough air and we will have a little bit of precipitation likely falling out here. We'll probably get some snow-capped mountains. Now, as I've been saying, the beginning of October continues to look like that's when we'll get our cool down again for the plains and out east. And well, models continue to show it. Here we go. We have a nice trough moving in from the northeast, and look at all of this well below average air. And this is well below average October air. So this might be the first time of the year since this last winter where you actually feel like, okay, we're getting closer to winter. We could see lows getting down into the 30s and 40s for many with this cold air moving in. So if we were to get this big cool down in October, what could our temperatures look like? Remember, this is still an if, but we do have good global model consensus of this cool down coming in early October. We're talking, like I said, widespread 40s and 30s, pretty far south, as you can see here. Really anywhere above this line, we could get down into the 30s and 40s. I've actually seen some of the global model runs actually have this trough even more amplified, which means who knows, you could see some 30s in northern Mississippi, Georgia, Alabama. We'll have to see. Again, this is pretty far down the line. I'm just trying to show you if you do get an amplified trough that moves in October, it's going to feel pretty wintry, and we do have some agreement on the model, so the possibility of this is trending up. And I know for sure after 2 to 3 weeks of above average temperatures, everyone out here would likely be looking forward to this. Maybe not everyone. Some people just want summer 12 months a year. Personally, I'm looking forward to feeling those fall-like conditions and winter-like conditions moving forward. This is a look at our Canadian long-range forecast, and this is the month of October. Again, signals still say cooler than average. And our CFS model agrees. It thinks potentially the northern plains might stay average to slightly above average, but for the most part, it's seeing cool air back into the east and a warm-up out west. Now, here's what we're looking at potentially rainfall-wise over the next 7 days, and it's very obvious to see where most of that rainfall looks to be the Ohio Valley and portions of the plains. This is a lot of rainfall over the next 7 days. Now, we've been in a dry spell in this area, so this is very good. Drought conditions have come back very quickly because we've seen almost no rainfall for a lot of these areas over the last week to 2 weeks. So I think this rainfall will be very welcomed. This should help with drought conditions, if not even help get some of these areas out of that drought. For the west, this is very, very dry. When you see these greens and dark blues, this is not even a ½ inch of rainfall over the next 7 days. Some of these areas might not receive any or just a 1/10 of an inch. I will say, depending on what the disturbance does behind Tropical Storm Gabrielle, this rainfall right here could end up being along the coast if that system does impact land. Again, right now though, the model trends are keeping that disturbance offshore. If that changes, I'll let you know. I really appreciate you guys watching this video. If you like this type of content, feel free to throw me a follow or sub. I make posts like this every day and I stream 5 days a week to try and answer all of your weather questions. I haven't been streaming as much lately because, well, the weather's been kind of slow, but it's ramping up. So I'll be on here. I'll continue to post. And of course, a like on the video or share always helps. And I'll see you in the next video.